All right. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
We're in the middle of the high holidays. It's now Motzei Shabbat. We are post Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
How was your Yom Kippur?
It was good. It was good.
It was good. Cool. Anyways, I'm Shalom,
I'm Yehuda Mackwitz.
and today we're going to talk about commitment issues.
Commitment issues.
Where do you think they come from?
I really don't know because I do know.
So tell me what you think.
Okay. It can be a number of things. It can be,
Obviously, you're coming from a guy's perspective.
oh yeah, sure. Shua. It can be having relationships that have not fared well for you.
Okay.
Like if someone is really close to you and they betray you in some way, that could cause commitment issues. If you have a parental figure that is a huge influence in your life, but is also a huge detriment to your life, that could be a cause of a commitment issue. If you have, if you don't have your life together, that can be a commitment issue. I don't know. I think that covers pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking a little deeper. Like, for people who want to be commitment based, but they're, for some reason, scared to pull the trigger on being committed.
Yeah. Again, I think that it's one of those three things. It's either you are mistrustful of deep relationships,
Okay.
you have a parental figure that is confusing you emotionally, or what was the third one? I don't remember.
You don't have your life together.
Right, you don't have your life together, which is like, oh, I don't want to bring someone else into my storm of craziness.
What would you say to someone who has a combination of all three of those reasons?
Yeah, I mean, you have to get good with your situation. Like, my big commitment issue is that I don't have my life together.
Okay.
The other two, whether or not they've happened to me, I've figured out how to move. I think I figured out how to move past it. You have to reconcile your past relationships first before you can move on. But yeah, and the not having your life together, it's like if you are choosing a intentionally difficult life, you are afraid to bring someone else into it because maybe they won't understand, or maybe you're gonna have to change or whatever, and maybe you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And that's my situation.
I think that I personally disagree with you. I think that commitment issues are very psychologically deep-seated.
Okay.
I think that for someone to just get married and kind of, figure it out from there, I would say that that's like the way out. You know what I mean?
The easy way out?
The easy way out.
I disagree completely.
Well, we're talking from the perspective of a creative here.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. Because when it's just you, right, then it's just your decision. If it's someone else, then you're making a decision together. And who says that that person is going to prioritize your creativity the way that you want them to? Like, imagine you have kids, right?
Yeah.
Are you gonna sit down and write your next great novel, or are you gonna go get a freaking job and make
You're gonna
money?
go get a job,
Right? So that's the thing. That's the commitment issue.
right? But it's
Oh, so when you say the easy way out, what you mean is they're sort of bailing on their dreams?
correct. Well, kind of. The point is that in order for you to be an exemplary person, especially when you want to set an example for someone, you have to be committed to yourself in order to be committed to others. You understand? Everybody has something they want to do. It's actually interesting. I was listening to a podcast a few weeks ago about this guy. I forget his name.
Do you know? Can we give the podcast a shout out, or?
I mean, it was the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
I just didn't want to say it.
Why not? He's a great he's probably the best podcaster
Yeah.
out there. So
I mean, after Bill Burr, but yeah, of course.
Okay. Yeah, if you're not listening to the Joe Rogan podcast, you're doing something wrong.
But anyhow, so he had this guy on. I forget his name. He was talking about how, people. He said people tend to complain about the fact that there are that they're losing certain jobs to automation.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, but then he said, but that's exactly what we want. Because if these jobs don't exist, it allows everyone to be creative.
It forces everyone to be creative.
Right, but it allows people to
Yeah.
tap into their creativity.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, with automation comes a gap, and this is a economic concept, and this is sort of the great theme of the last American election, right? With automation comes the gap, and how do you support that gap, right? In the factory belt of the United States was completely out of business,
Yeah.
which means that everybody in the factory belt was unemployed, which means that everybody in the factory belt was poor, right? So yes, it allows people to be creative, but it also takes away people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
And so it's like, so how do you, the question that the United States is trying to answer sort of delicately is, how do you bridge that gap?
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's not.
The point is that from a creative's perspective, and from someone who, like myself, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but for somebody who is always trying to search for answers, always searching for the truth, always trying to figure out who this person is in this vessel and what the purpose is, you know what I mean? So, like,
You could just say finding myself. Is that too corny?
it's a little too corny, but I'm trying to be specific. So the point is, what I'm saying is that you take, I try to figure out, like, okay, so people tell me, oh, you have to love yourself before you can love another. I think you have to be committed to yourself before you can commit to another.
Oh, I totally agree.
So the thing is that when it comes to loving yourself, it's sometimes very easy, but it's only easy when ego takes over. You understand? The hard part is facing the truth. You understand? So
No. Please elaborate.
you don't understand. Okay. So when I say it's easy when ego takes over, is that, let's say someone like you could say, oh, I'm an athlete. I train 5 times a week. But are you an athlete?
Definitely not.
There you go. That's my point.
Yeah.
Like, I was training with someone in Israel once, and he's like, you're an athlete. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, yeah, if you work out more than 3 times a week, you're an athlete. I was like,
that's
yeah.
so not true.
You're just giving yourself breaks where you shouldn't be
Yeah,
giving
you're
yourself
just
breaks.
calling yourself an athlete because you don't want to do what it takes to be an
That's my
athlete.
point.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people will take shortcuts and let their ego take over. As we hear many, many times, ego is a success inhibitor, right? So you can love yourself, but if that love is false, it has an expiration date. You understand? In order for you to truly love yourself, you have to really dig deep and really understand who you are.
I dig.
So that you can say, oh, okay, I'm not in a good mood. This is where I need to kind of catch myself. But now that I know that, I can be an exemplary husband, an exemplary father.
So you tell me, how does one completely love themselves?
So that's a question. Like,
Yeah.
it's something that we're in the process of figuring out. I will tell you that, if you're someone who's come from tremendous trauma, part of loving yourself, part of self-love is getting yourself therapy. There's nothing wrong with it. Part of self-love is starting a blog, like writing daily what you're going through and being completely honest with yourself. Part of self-love is journaling, right? Part of self-love is basically just figuring out what the hell is going on in your head instead of neglecting it.
Okay, so
Part of self-love is also taking care of yourself.
I
Physically,
agree.
mentally, emotionally. I mean, those things were emotional and mental. Physical is eating the right foods, exercising. If you're taking care of yourself on all fronts, then you will eventually start to see results.
I dig it. Yeah, so let me ask you a question. You and I both recently read a book.
Which one?
How to Turn Your Pain into Art.
Yeah, I gotta do it again, but yeah.
But we both agreed that there is a certain kind of person that book would be terrible for. Because it would feed into their narcissism
Yeah.
and cause them to be worse people.
Right. We're talking about people who give themselves too many breaks.
No, sure. I'm saying, well, I mean, people who love themselves, narcissists do give themselves too many breaks.
That's the point.
Right. However,
Yeah.
if a narcissist is someone who loves themselves too much, right? So how do you navigate between loving yourself and loving yourself too much?
How do you navigate between loving yourself and loving yourself too much?
I mean, this is a question I really wanted to ask
I would
Ariel
say-
Bloom, but
I would say, shout out to Ariel Bloom.
yeah.
I would say that you have to, it's a battle. Like, it's going to be hard. But for someone who's coming from a narcissistic point of view, first of all, first things first, identify that you're a narcissist. That's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like, honestly, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like identifying something that you are completely unaware of.
It's not a matter of being unaware of it. I'm sure enough people make you aware of it on a regular account. You just choose not to listen because you don't want to hear something that's going to make you feel like crap.
Interesting. Okay. So go on.
So first things first, be honest with who you are. Actually, there's a book that you and I have both read. Can't Hurt Me. I'm sure we've referenced it in the past.
Accountability mirror.
The accountability mirror. You stand in front of the mirror and you say the worst things possible to yourself.
Yeah.
So that whoever says anything terrible to you, you've already heard it.
Yeah, you've already said it to yourself. You know these things. And I think the beautiful thing about the accountability mirror is that there's no such thing as the perfect human being. So
Right.
if you're standing in front of a mirror and you can't figure out what the hell is wrong with you,
You're a narcissist.
yeah.
So here's the thing. With that being said, you and I have both read books, and I'm in the middle of the last one. You've already finished all of them. Stephen Pressfield, he writes 3 books. He writes The War
He
of
has
Art.
another one, by the way.
Oh, okay, so we haven't
It's
finished
called
that.
The Warrior Ethos.
Oh, sweet. I'm down for that one. But it's the War of Art, Do the Work, Turning Pro. It's all about beating resistance. Now, it's very apropos that we discuss this because Yom Kippur has just ended. Resistance.
And by the way, we both read those books over Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur.
Correct. Resistance in Jewish terms is the Yetzer Hara. Now, people look at the Yetzer Hara as their evil inclination, right? But I don't like
It's
that.
a very narrow view.
Yeah,
of it.
I don't like that explanation because it doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't have any, I have an evil inclination, right? Part of me is the devil. It's stupid. The way I understand it,
It's stupid, but it's true.
yeah, the way I understand it, and the way that I'm starting to understand it a lot better, especially with these books being helpful, is that your best friend is the Yetzer Hara.
Yeah.
Why? Because the Yetzer Hara is that little voice in your head that tells you how much of a piece of crap you are.
Or how great you are.
Or how great
it's
you are.
whatever is going to throw you off your game.
Exactly. And the point is that if you can understand that your best friend is your Yetzer Hara, whatever your Yetzer Hara is saying, first you have to identify what the Yetzer Hara is saying. Second of all, once you've identified what the Yetzer Hara is saying, whatever the Yetzer Hara is saying, you do the opposite.
Right.
You either choose not to listen, or if it's something that's really potent, you do the opposite.
Yeah. So how would you identify?
Just fall down.
That would have been hilarious. Although my computer would have fallen over, I would have lost it. But yeah. So crap, I lost my train of thought.
Yetzer Hara.
Yeah. If you, I think the point is the way that you identify what is the Yetzer Hara is first take a hard think about what you want to do, like with your life, right? For instance, I want to be a writer, right? So priority number 1, write. Anything that stops me from writing is my Yetzer Hara.
Boom shakalaka.
Period.
And your
Priority
Yetzer Hara
number-
can be fueled by people who want you to do the opposite of what you want to do.
Right. My second priority is to read. Anything, any inclination I get that says stop reading, don't do this right now, blah blah blah. That's my Yetzer Hara. And the other thing, and the thing that's really difficult is sometimes you have to give into it. Sometimes family emergency is more important. And you have to, and that's the other part of it is like, oh, right now is not a good time to write because the house is falling apart or whatever, right? It's just like, but like, you have to be like brutally honest with yourself. You go, okay, should I be sitting in bed watching Netflix right now? No, I should be getting up and I should be doing the work.
Exactly. So let's bring it back full circle, right? So we were talking about self-love. We were talking about you can't love yourself until you can't love another until you love yourself. We're talking about you can't commit to another until you can commit to yourself. You have to commit to yourself. So what does that mean? That basically means understanding the Yetzer Hara to the point where you start to get a stride. And if you can start and basically understanding your Yetzer Hara and beating your Yetzer Hara is self-love, and it is commitment-based. If you can commit to yourself, you can commit to others. See, the thing is, why would anybody, like, let's say you had a dream to do anything, right? Let's say Yehuda had a dream that he wanted to be a hockey player, right? If Yehuda didn't see that through to the point where he's like, okay, this isn't my thing, if he can't commit to that dream, as far-fetched as it may sound to any other person, how could he commit to anybody else? Now,
Yeah.
granted, that's a very intense way of thinking, but it's true. If you can't commit to who you want to be, you got one life. If you can't commit to all these different weird stages of your life to who you want to be, how could you even commit to someone else?
Yeah, and
How could you commit to your children?
Yeah, and actually the crazy thing about that is if you decide that you can't commit to those stages of your life, you're going to be in those stages forever. You're going to be arrested in development.
Yeah, so
Because you're always going to wonder.
Yeah, so the idea is that if you're someone who is in pain and you're someone who's trying their darndest, who's trying their darndest to get in gear with who they want to be, and they're just really struggling, like first of all, I can identify with that. But if you're someone like that, the whole thing is that you got to sit in front of the mirror and you got to tell yourself everything that you're personally afraid of. So that way you heard it first and you said it to yourself. The second you're aware of the things that you are afraid of, you start to conquer that Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara it's a demon, man. It's a freaking...
It's hard.
It's hard. It takes the hell over you. But the point is that...
And it'll do anything to stop you from working.
Exactly. And something that you need to realize is that everybody's dealing with this, and not everyone realizes it, but not only that, not everybody succeeds. And if you want to be that one who succeeds and really understands how to really channel that negative energy, then you will be golden.
Yeah, interesting side point. Um, in Kabbalah, it always like whenever it talks about a really difficult concept, it'll say the initiated will understand.
What does that mean?
It means people who are well versed in Kabbalah. But the same is true for fighting the Sahara. The people who will understand and will support you and will not break you, will not tear you down, are the initiated, the people who have already done it.
Either the
know
people
how
who have
hard it
already
is.
done it, or the people who are looking to do what you're doing.
Yeah, who know how hard it is and know how many people are going to get in your way. Because the crazy thing is that, you will have loved ones who will turn on you, right? And it's only because they don't know any better.
Yeah.
And you will wonder, oh, am I doing something wrong? Right? You'll be like, oh no, maybe I'm being selfish. And that was a huge stage in my life where I was like, I was being pulled in all these different directions by people I cared about. And I was like, oh my God, because I'm being pulled in so many directions, I don't have time to accomplish what I was setting out to accomplish. And so I shut off the noise and I marked a time. I said, okay, from this time to this time, no one is disturbing me. And the second day I did it, someone came up to me and asked me to do them a favor.
Boom.
And I said no. And they lost it. Not only did they lose it on me, they told me, why are you wasting your time doing that? And this was a very close a very close relationship of mine. They said, why are you wasting your time doing that? You're never going to succeed. And I looked at them and I was like, did you just say that to me? And it was an insanely powerful moment. It was like, wow. And that's resistance. That's the Sahara. That's the Sahara coming from someone uninitiated who doesn't know how hard it is and doesn't understand that anybody can do it.
So on that note, we're gonna close it. And just to summarize, in order to love another person, in order to be commitment based, first of all, note we're all dealing with something. So we're all afraid of commitment. We're all afraid of giving someone love because we're afraid of being loved back. Show yourself love. Show yourself commitment, and the right people and the right things will cross you, will be in front of you on the way on your journey.
So I'm gonna end it off with a quote.
Go for it, man.
Elvis once said, "Papa don't preach," but Yehuda says, "Brother, preach."
Wow, that was really bad.
I know.
All right, until next time. See you later.
All right.